Hey there. Today we're going to talk about how to build powerful brands. My name is Aino and I'm a designer and brand strategist, and I've been in the industry for almost 20 years, 18 plus years. I've had the privilege of working with some of the most creative minds in the world, building brands in two continents, here in Finland, where I'm currently located, as well as nearly 10 years in San Francisco Bay Area, working in San Francisco in branding and design, managing brands, building brands, things like that. In this training, we're going to take a look at how to build a brand, a profitable, powerful brand that attracts more business and ideal customers to you. And you can also use this framework for creating brands or building brands for clients. So if you're a designer or creative person who wants to start doing branding for clients, you're in the right place. If you're a person who wants to learn how to build a brand for themselves, you don't have to be a designer. This training is also for you. So let's get started. Powerful branding consists of three key focus areas: brand strategy, that is really the foundation for everything, and then two additional areas of visual identity and messaging that kind of stream down from the brand strategy once that is first figured out. Let's take a look at each of these sections to figure out more in detail what you need to think about, what you need to do when you look into those. So first of all, what is brand strategy? Brand strategy is that solid rock foundation for your brand and your business. I always say that brand strategy is business strategy because the pieces inside that brand strategy that you have to figure out are anyways things that you have to think about when you start a business. Things like your target audience, what is the offering that what you're offering, or what kind of services or products you're offering for your clients, what kind of value do you bring to them, what kind of transformation you are enabling for your prospective clients. So all of these are things that you as a business owner or your clients who are business owners have to think about anyways. Brand strategy is also sort of a framework around the things that you need to build for your brand. So, especially if you are going to do the design work for your brand, your visual identity pieces yourself, or as a designer, if you're doing those for your client, you can think of brand strategy as the guiding framework that helps you figure out what do you need to build, what do they need to look like, because brand strategy really seamlessly drives towards brand personality, towards the look and feel. So it kind of gives the guidelines or kind of restrictions so that you know already what to do. Think of it as a relieving yourself from designer's block. We all know writer's block, which is basically writing a story from an empty page, and how that is paralyzing because you have all the options at your hand. Designers can also have a designer's block, meaning if you don't have any restrictions, any guidelines, anything guiding what you have to design, you will have an empty canvas and the options are endless, countless. And that's when you get paralyzed. But when you have really solid brand strategy figured out, that gives you a framework and kind of the guidelines, the restrictions that you have to take into account that limit your options, which I know it sounds like, well, I don't want limitations, but in this case, it's a positive thing. It gives you the framework that you need so that you never have to start from scratch. You never have to start from an empty page. You know what you need to do. So in this case, it is a really good, really positive thing. And if you have a really good brand strategy, you never have to suffer from designer's block again when creating that visual identity. So here you see is kind of like the relationship. How do you move from brand strategy to visual identity? So here on the left, I have the brand strategy pieces, and on the right, I have visual identity. And you see what are the things that you define when you define brand strategy. And you can define this for yourself as a business owner, or you can define it for your client. If you have never done brand strategy work and this is concerning or scary for you, you don't have to worry about it because, well, quite often we already, as business owners, we already have this information. We just don't know what kind of information you need to include in this brand strategy part, or if you're doing this for a client, if you're a designer doing this for a client, worry not, because if you just know what the right questions to ask are, your clients, your prospective clients will have the answers. You don't need any specific special expertise if you know the process. So here on the brand strategy side of things, we think about things like, why are you in business? What is it that you're doing? How is it different from others, or other offerings, other businesses? Why should anyone care about this, and for who it is? And those questions seamlessly drive towards visual identity. When you answer those, you start to look for things like, well, what does it look like? Because when you know who's it for, you know who it needs to attract, you know their subculture, you know what kind of things they like. So you need to, of course, create a branding that is attractive to them, right? What does it feel like? Again, when you think of things like, why should anyone care? How is this different? For who it is? What is it that you're creating? When you answer the set of questions there, it starts to lead towards, what does it feel like? So on the right, we have brand strategy, and answering those questions that we have on the on the left. Here on the left, we have brand strategy, and answering those questions about, why is it that you're in business? Why is this product important? What is it that you're doing? How is it different? Why should anyone care? For who is it? Things like that. You are making sure that you are creating, designing the right thing. So first you have to make sure that you are designing a brand, right? You're designing a brand, you're designing something that is the right thing that is out there. It's the right product for your clients. It's the right brand that attracts them. It's the right strategy to get to the market, all those things. Once you have figured that what is the right thing to design, then you are going to design that thing right. And when we talk about designing that thing right, we're talking about following the right design process, creating the right visuals, creating it in a attractive look and feel that attracts the ideal customer, creating the right pieces for the identity, all those things. So first you have to make sure that you are doing the right thing, and then you have to do the thing right. Okay. So when you follow the proper brand process, you make sure that all those boxes are checked and you are doing the process correctly. You know that you're doing the right thing, and you know that you're doing the thing right. Well, now when we have moved to the visual identity side of things, why is this part important? We already have strategy. Isn't it enough to just, now I can explain why my thing is unique? Why do I need to make it look a certain way? Well, as people are very visual creatures, we're drawn to certain colors, certain shapes, and things like that. The first main goal of your visual identity or visual branding is to catch attention. You want and specifically catch attention of the people that are your prospective customers or the customers of your client. So that's why it's important that you choose the right color. That's why it's important that you choose the right visuals and metaphors and icons and illustrations, things like that, because you want to attract the attention of the very specific group of people. Everyone has their personal preferences. We tend to be social creatures that form tribes or packs, with a lack of a better word, or subcultures. Think of I don't know, hippies or punk or something like that. They all tend to have a similar visual identity. Well, similarly to your branding, to prospective customers, prospective clients, people who like-minded people are drawn to similar things, and those are the groups that you want to attract. Things kind of like nail down that subculture that your brand is attracting. So just to recap, goal number one with your visual identity is to catch the attention of your prospective customers. Visual identity also provides recognizability and attraction. So the visual things, first of all, help people remember. So there's I think they say that you have to, there has to be, when you do marketing things, there has to be like 7 to 15 touch points, or your prospective customers, your clients' prospective customers have to be able to see marketing for that brand, possibly up to 15 times before they make a purchase decision. Now, obviously, each of those touch points have to be recognizable to that one brand, and visual things will help you or help your clients, customers identify that these things belong to that same company, and also attract with that same visual look and feel that they feel drawn to, attract them back again to those pieces of marketing, to that business, to that branding. So a visual identity is that visual candy. If you imagine scrolling online, first you see the color. Oh, what was that bright yellow? That's interesting to me because I like yellow. Oh, what's that photo? I like that photo. This feels like it's for me. And then you dive into the messaging. So we, as visual creatures, pay attention to the visuals. And it's not, the saying like, image speaks more than 1,000 words or something like that. It's true. Our brains process visual information. I think it was like 60,000 times faster than words. So if you look at this, for example, this little emoji here with a smiley emoji, eyes, hearts as eyes, you look at it and within 1 second your brain says, first of all, process the shapes, the colors, but also things like it is happy, it is smiling, it is laughing, it has fallen in love, there's hearts in their eyes, and all the cultural implications that come from using a heart. Where that comes from. This emoji thing comes from smartphones and mobile phones. So there's so many messages that your brain can interpret from that one emoji in 1 second. And imagine how long it would be if that was typed for somebody to read the same information. It would take significantly longer. So getting your visuals exactly right is really critical for attracting that attention and helping people, prospective customers, to recognize and remember your business. Okay. Also, when it comes to visual identity, it's critical that it is just right. The visuals have to be just right. We already talked about subcultures, and this is hand in hand with that. People have to be able to identify with your brand. They have to be immediately able to feel this thing belongs to me. We process so many visual images every day, like thousands, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands images, especially these days with internet and social media. Think of how many ads you scroll by every day. Think of how many billboards, how many TV ads you see every day. And the thing is, you don't remember most of them. You only remember the ones that you identified with, that caught your attention, and the ones that you felt like, oh, this is targeted to me. This is speaking to me. This was meant for me. I feel like this is something important for me. Those are the ones. And if you don't do the strategy work, you don't really know what those messages, you don't know what the visuals, you don't know what the colors, you don't know what the shapes, the imagery is that really speaks for your audience. One of the three key areas was messaging, and I already referenced this a little bit by saying that if you don't do the strategy work, you don't know how to speak. What is the messages how to speak to your prospective clients, customers? What kind of messages attract them? So, what is messaging? Messaging is really sharing your brand with the world, sharing the story of your brand with the world. So, we talk about, or some people talk about messaging and copywriting exchangeably, like they are the same thing, but they're not. So copywriting really is kind of putting a nice wrapper around a package. Copywriting is making something sound lovely, making something easy to read or easy to listen to, whatever. Messaging is the actual gift, not the wrapper. Messaging is the actual meat of that text, basically what you are saying instead of how to say it. Messaging is a larger concept, and it definitely includes some of the how you say it part, but messaging is the story, really the kind of the important message that is within your brand strategy, comes with your brand or any story that you're telling. So when you think of messaging as sharing your brand with the world, sharing the message, the story, and then the visual identity is visualizing that same thing. Messaging is creating these compelling communications. And by compelling communications, I mean this very specific
story and the message that attracts the ideal customer that you or your client is trying to attract. Now, how do we figure out what those compelling communications are? Well, excuse me, we have to go back to the brand strategy again. And by answering those questions, doing some research, following the process, you find out what the actual pieces of compelling communications are. When you go through the messaging process, you also create some very concrete messages you can use. I have some examples later on here, but it's not just like coming up with a framework. It's if you follow the process, you will actually come up with snippets of things that you can use in very practical way in your marketing. For example, mission statement, vision statement that will go on your website, that can go into your podcast intro and things like that. But we're going to take a look at each of these layers or each of these focus areas more in detail right now. So let's talk about the layers of branding. We looked at all those three areas. Each of them forms its own layer. So let's take a look at each of those layers. The foundational layer when we do strategy is what I call you. This is sort of the starting point for any business, big or small. For small business, and I talk about you because most of my students and most of my clients are small business owners. The you refers to either the founder of the business, or it could also be like an origin story. Kind of how did this business come about? There's usually very interesting stories, very compelling little details that you can use for crafting that brand story. The next thing we look at is the why. Why does this business or why does this offering exist? There has to be a very clear reason, because there has to be a need that this business is responding to. What is that need and how are we going to satisfy that? Through that process, we draft mission and vision statements. Mission is typically described as what is the change you want to see in the world, and the vision is how are you going to realize that vision, or how are you going to make that vision come through. And there's a very specific steps and templates to use to create that so that you can get something compelling for your business. You can also, as a part of this foundation layer, you should come up with some kind of unique twist. What makes you different from your competitors? What makes you stand out in the marketplace? There's several ways to look at this. It can be coming from the origin story, or from that kind of that you part, the founder. It could be a very specific framework that you use in your services, a very specific kind of angle in your product. Like, is there something specific in the mission? Like maybe you want to do something sustainable, and there's something very specific about the ingredients of your cosmetic product, or things like that. So there are really good, cool ways to figure out what that unique twist is. I teach some of those in my branding course. And then one of the last things about the foundation is the value proposition. And the value proposition, it sounds pretty simple, like, well, your offer has to bring value, but there are different point of views to this. There's emotional value, and then there's practical value, and you have to be able to quantify both of those and discuss both of those to be able to attract the two different types of purchasers or prospective clients. Some people, well, most people make decisions based on emotions. It's been said that up to 90 or 95 or more, even more, percent of decision making throughout the day is emotional. But there's also and always people who make very rational, practical decisions. And you have to be able to justify both the emotional value and the rational value. The next layer is the customer. It's basically the first we define you, which is basically the business, and now we define the focus of that your focus, which should always be the customer. Customer-centric businesses just thrive better, they grow better, they become more successful because they actually satisfy a true need that comes from the customers. So first you have to kind of understand the customer impact. What kind of impact does the customer have? How thoroughly it kind of goes through the entire business strategy, brand strategy, And when you put that into the center, how critical it becomes to your success. Okay. We draft something, or you as a business owner or doing this for your client, you should draft a ideal customer avatar or a client profile. We call them sometimes target market, target segment, or market segments. Basically, who is this product or service for? You can kind of take that in a broad way, figuring out the ideal customer, and then narrow it down into something I call niche audience. It is very specific. You define a specific niche. You can either already know that this is my niche, I want to do this, or you can look at your offering, you can look at your product, your service, and figure out what in that product or service already has attracted or does attract a specific niche. There's also a very specific framework for that I teach, actually kind of backing into it. If you don't know who your niche audience should be, there are ways to figure that out, or maybe you already have one, but you don't know. Then through that customer lens becomes brand personality. So what kind of personality your brand should have so that it attracts the attention of your ideal customer. So the idea is that brand has a personality. We often describe brands with words that we use for people: happy, energetic, sort of solemn, calm. These are like words that we use to describe people oftentimes. So you can create this personality framework around your brand. What would the brand be like if it was a person? And then ideally, that is a person, that personality becomes something that is the best friend of the prospective customer, something that they feel very close to, something or someone they admire, someone they are drawn to. There has to be some kind of comfortable linking between those two personalities. And then lastly, brand positioning based on kind of your customer focus. Brand positioning frameworks help you figure out how to stand out in the marketplace in relation to the type of audience you want to attract and to competitors. You could also use these brand positioning frameworks to map your path towards I'm here now. Now I'm like everyday brand, but I want to be a luxury brand. Who are my competitors? What are the things I need to take into account? So there are really cool frameworks to figuring that out. And when you have figured out those two layers, you start to put together your story, which is the story of your brand, of course. The story is starting to form, and you can start visualizing that story by the process goes from creating mood boards to kind of refining them constantly, figuring out the tone of voice through that framework, and then leading towards visual identity. So we talked about differences of copywriting and messaging before, and tone of voice is something kind of in between. Tone of voice is part of figuring out the personality. It's kind of like what kind of language, and I don't mean like Swedish versus German. I mean the kind of how colorful is the language your brand is using. Is it using more formal language because the audience is older people or enterprise executives? I don't know. Or is it using more colorful, youthful language because you're trying to reach 20 something young women, for example? So tone of voice goes hand in hand with the look and feel. It goes hand in hand with the brand personality. And then once all those things are figured out, they lead towards visual identity. And now you see that we've already defined brand personality, we've defined the positioning, so we know whether it's a luxury brand. For example, there's different ways to use that positioning framework. It doesn't have to be tied to luxury things at all, but just using it because it's an easy example. So brand positioning, your ideal customer, brand personality, tone of voice, all of these things are now narrowing down to, or kind of focusing deeply to, what does the look and feel like? What should your brand look and feel like? So now it's really much easier to move into building that visual identity and start figuring out the logos, the colors, the fonts, photography styles, and other design elements like illustrations, icons, textures, gradients, things like that. And you put them together into an identity system. So now you have basically all the things. You have the visual things, you have the strategy things, and now you tie it into the gift package with the messaging framework. So messaging pulls from all of those pieces. It pulls from strategy, it pulls from tone of voice, it pulls from personality, it pulls from the important things like the values, the why, and it kind of creates a story that brings together the mission, the vision, the tagline, the slogan. And there's really cool frameworks and easy frameworks step by step for doing all of that. So you don't really have to be like a master writer or a master copywriter to figure that out. And it helps you figure out what makes your offering unique. How are you different from others? What are those things that attract those important clients within your brand? It helps you stand out in the marketplace. And once you stand out and people notice you, it helps you connect with those prospective customers. So the people who have noticed you, you are now making an emotional connection with them. And finally, it helps you convert those people into customers without feeling salesy or sleazy or icky, because you have actually identified and connected with people who are already looking for what you have to sell. So if you start building a brand without doing any of this framework in the bottom, or the strategy and other stuff, you might end up attracting people who are not really looking for the service or product that you're providing. And then you have to do those really uncomfortable, hard sales pitches. And you might end up converting some of those too. But what happens is that they are not, at the end of the day, they might not be happy with the uh, purchase that they made, because they weren't necessarily the people who were really looking for you. But when you do all this framework for yourself or for your customer or for your client, you make sure that the brand that is built is actually attracting the kind of people that are looking for that service, that brand, who are really connected to that message, who are really committed to whatever it is that they're purchasing, and they're not gonna be unhappy with that. And then, of course, at the end of the day, anything that you created, you should be able to implement on the website, on social media, on like layout design, if you do workbooks, any marketing freebies, brochures, presentations, anything like that. So the only question left is, are you on a journey to trying to build a powerful brand? I'm thinking, because you watched this training all the way here, this is probably a topic that you want to learn more about. So either you are building a brand for yourself, or you are probably, or one of the things that you might be looking into doing is wanting to build brands for clients. Maybe you're a designer, maybe you're a brand strategist, maybe you're a copywriter, and you look into, you want to expand into branding as an extra or additional revenue stream for your business. You've gotten a really good framework here already, kind of outline all of those pieces that you need to know about, that you need to do, how, in what order. So you can definitely go out and start doing this. And I think this is giving you a good idea of what needs to be done. If you also want to kind of learn how to do that, if you want to take that shortcut of how to get to the results faster, I can definitely help you with that. I have a self-paced online course called Branding Done Right. It is a unique a course that focuses on brand strategy, visual identity, marketing design, and brand messaging. All of those things, all of those layers, each of those things that you saw, all the frameworks that I mentioned, are taught in this course. I have a background, like I mentioned in the beginning, I have a background in design for almost 20 years, 18 plus years. I've worked in branding agencies in San Francisco and Helsinki, in 2 different continents. And I've put together frameworks that I've used, that I've seen used in the industry, and I know they work. So it's kind of tried, true, and tested. And this is the collection of all of those things that I learned in nearly 20 years in the industry. So it helps to know that these are, first of all, used by professionals everywhere, but I also kind of reworked some of them to make sure that they are simple enough for anyone to follow step by step. Not just, you don't have to have 20 years of experience with anything. There are question frameworks that you answer questions. There are step-by-step trainings and all different things that you need to know. The course has 4 parts. It consists of 8 modules, more than 50 lessons, then coming with worksheets, cheat sheets, and templates and things like that. let's take a look at how it is built. So branding done right follows this framework, this brand strategy framework. And you see it here, I call it brand pyramid. It starts, it basically starts with figuring out your why through vision and mission statements, value propositions, ideal customer avatar, brand personality, and brand positioning. So we do all of these things that you see in this kind of this pyramid. So figuring out what is your unique point of view, what is the value that you bring, who is your audience, who should you be attracting, what or how is your brand, what is the personality like, how should you be positioned in the marketplace for better results, the visual identity, and then the messaging on the top. And when we do the visual identity part, we have trainings for logo design, brand color library, brand fonts, photo direction, additional design elements like icons and graphics and things like that. And the way this is built is that you don't have to be a designer. So there are kind of like a processes inside this course if you just want to do the strategy and then hire somebody to do it. But there's also teachings that come with this course as a bonus material that teach people to use Adobe software. So if you already have design experience, there's like tips on how to draw logos, like just very unique logos with Adobe Illustrator. But there's also, if you don't want to do that, there's like tips and tricks how to find logos that somebody else already made and selling a creative market or in Canva or something like that. So there's two tracks. You can be person who never did design and you can still do something very powerful with this course, or you can be someone who's like, I have design skills, I just want to learn the right branding process and I do need to sharpen my design skills, and they're all in this course. The more advanced software training and the more advanced sort of design process training comes as a bonus training inside the course, but it's all comes with one purchase. And when we figure out the brand messaging, it comes with unique point of view. So how are you different from others? What are those key differentiators that you need to focus on? What is your unique offering message? So how is your offering specifically very unique from other competitors? What are the key messages? How do you tie those key differentiators in a handful of key messages? There's framework for creating tagline and slogan, and then framing this entire story. There's very sort of useful tools in here how to draft your like story through the stand up or stand out, connect, and convert framework on social media, for example, which is basically the know, like, and trust. That's a more common way of saying it, know, like, and trust. But on and kind of branding world, it's more like stand out in the marketplace, connect, make an emotional connection, and then convert into customers. So there's that framework, and there's also like other copywriting tips and messaging tips in this part. And I also teach how to use or how to convert or how to use your branding in marketing designs, because it's not enough if you're a small business owner, it's not enough to like just create a brand, but you're not able to implement it. So you definitely want to be able to implement it. And this is a course that teaches that as well through web design. How do you do it on social media or social media designs? How do you do layout designs and then presentation designs? And of course, if you already have design experience or expertise, you can just take the tips from here, because the design principles that it also teaches, the basic design principles are applicable on any design focus. There's also lessons on color psychology, typography, things like that that you can use for any, basically any design project you have at hand.
And of course, as already mentioned, the course comes with amazing bonuses. So we have help for writing. We have a bonus called Name Your Brand, which is by Charles Strauss, a copywriter and namer in San Francisco, and also copywriting 101 training. So those two are perfect for anyone who's working on naming brands. Like if you're starting a business from scratch and your business needs a name, if you do a lot of products like courses or other kind of products, or if you need to name books or anything like that, or if you do branding for clients and you have to suggest names for their products and brands, this bonus is perfect. There's also special trainings on how to use Adobe software, Illustrator, InDesign, Photoshop, and also how to do professional logo design. So there are specific tips on how to use some Illustrator tools, for example, to create specific curves or specific vector kind of symbols for logos, or just the process of how to come up with different logo ideas and sort of the metaphor behind those just right. And then there's also bonus trainings on web design. These amazing bonuses come also with a brand identity kit, which is a kind of Canva kit that comes with 100 color and font pairings with associated keywords to make it easier to choose that pairing. Also, 11 complete brand guidelines with logos, colors, fonts, 70 different logos that you could use from, and a logo generator. So this is great for if you're not a designer and you just want to really quickly create a visual identity. You can use something from this. But also, if you are a designer, the logo generator is great because it gives you like the ideal lockup types for horizontal, vertical, or like a landscape and portrait logos and stuff like that. So this is one. So this is called Brand Identity Kit, and this is a bonus inside the course. Another great bonus is the Ultimate Freebie Template. So this is great if you do any marketing collateral, like if you do any ebooks, if you do any kind of workbooks, if you do any sort of step-by-step guides or any type of PDF freebies that you need to do. There's a lot of different layout templates in this. I can't remember how many. It was like more than 60 different layouts, I think, and different like cover options, headers, footers, things like that. This is also great for if you're doing design for clients. Now, if you do marketing for clients and they frequently want you to do like different kinds of these PDFs or like different freebies or whatnot, this template will get you sorted really quickly. And you can definitely use this for client work as well. So all of this is right now in special sales, minus 30% with a very affordable price of $207. Excuse me. So just remember to use for this limited time offer, remember to use the coupon code BRAND30, all caps, all capital letters. So you need to go to dailycreative.io/branding. You have it up here is the URL, the website for this offer. So if you're interested in this, go to dailycreative.io/branding, and you have a wealth of more information about this course, and you could be building your brand or start building brands for your client today. Again, with the one-time purchase, you get 30% off. That is valid, limited time only. So go check it out. Brand30 is the coupon code. And right now, it's only $207. I think that's a great price for everything that you get. And if you start doing branding for clients, you could be making this money back in just a matter of days. If you do branding, you want to do branding for yourself, $200 is not really a huge investment in creating a brand that really is powerful and attracts those ideal customers that you are looking for. Now, if $200 or $207 still sounds like too much, there is an option for paying parts. So you could do 3 monthly payments of $99. And the access to this course is a lifetime. So you can access to these assets forever. It doesn't go away. So definitely go check it out, dailycreative.io/branding for more information. And remember to use the coupon code BRAND30 if you want to get the 30% discount off the one-time purchase. So that's all. I mean, I really encourage you to go take a look at the dailycreative.io/branding and check it out. There's more information on the course and more information on branding on that webpage. So definitely go check it out. If you have any questions, come find me in Facebook group. I have a personal Facebook group called Brand Builders Society. So go find that and come say hi and let me know if you have any questions. I'd love to see you there. Talk to you later. Bye.